Hi everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Center. I'm 4040 and today's episode isn't actually going to be my turn in the KSP PvP war that we've got going, Series 3 of course. This turn is actually going to be the Northern Coalition's own little foray into our series. Now, the Northern Coalition are an NPC group, but somebody's got to control them, so that's what I'm going to be doing. The Northern Coalition currently have 4 different types of craft, 3 of which you guys and the players have seen and have interacted with. So all of the ones that have been seen and interacted with have had names added onto them because we've investigated and scanned them enough as players that I can add them in. So we've got the Ghost Interceptors, we've got the... let's have a look at my notes. We've got the Wraith Heavy Interceptors that Sharcorp and Cracks Industries have come across. Cracks Industries have also destroyed some of the Ghost Interceptors. But so far, nobody has actually had a look at the Northern Coalition's Project Black Saber. Now, Project Black Saber has been in orbit around Kerbin in a build phase for over a turn so far, and nobody has gone to investigate it, and Project Black Saber was left relatively undefended and nobody decided to try and stop it. Now, Project Black Saber is a mothership as described by the home base symbol there, and this turn the Northern Coalition are going to be well, they've kind of set back and taken a pummeling for a little while so far. They've lost their resources around the Mun. In fact, the only Northern Coalition stuff that's left are their probes, which are their satellites that nobody's really bothered with taking down, and an escape pod from one of their broken ships. Beyond that, the Northern Coalition's reach over the Kerbin system has been significantly reduced by Sharcorp and Cracks Industries working together to get rid of them and reduce their influences. So far, Corp, I wonder if one of his ships are anywhere around here. Yeah, HEEP Corp has only launched civilian class ships, and in the Accord, the Northern Coalition won't stop non-militarized ships in orbit around Kerbin, but they will go after military ships. Another coalition have been pushing quite hard to capture more land masses on Kerbin, and have been content to let their old forces, well, to be honest, they're forces from Season 2, so they've got older weapons and older flight crew who are a bit ropey. They've let them basically have the snot kicked out of them by the upgraded and more advanced forces of the corporations. Now is the time that they have decided that they've managed to build up secretly around Kerbin, as nobody's really been bothering, forces to make a small fleet. Now, some of these, the fleet size has been reduced slightly by Sharcorp destroying some of their ships, but all that the Northern Coalition have needed to do is gather their ships together. They've launched 2 additional ships that are going to operate as peacekeepers around Kerbin. Yeah, there's 2 Ghost Interceptors in orbit around Kerbin, which they have just launched with fresh crews, and these are going to be operating as a peacekeeping force. There you go, Ghost Interceptor 6 and 5, I believe, and the rest of their fleet have been collected together in this kind of blob here, and they're going to be deploying on their orders. Now, this has just basically been a very brief introduction. The rest of this is going to be annotated. I'm not going to be talking. It's going to be text appearing on the screen, some cool music, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And let me know what you think of this format. Do you want me to play it as though it was one of my own episodes and fully narrate? Or do you prefer this more kind of third person, you watching some kind of replay? Because they are kind of NPCs. They're not going to be pulling any blows. They are effectively, the fleet will be hopping to 1, 2, 3, and then if there's enough left, planetary bodies, and they keep on going out and leave one of the fleet member around each planet as they go to act as a peacekeeping once the fleet has engaged with the enemy and destroyed them. So, actually, I'll do you a proper flyby of the fleet as I'll show you what's going on. So we're going to go to Project Black Saber. Now this is the Northern Coalition's very first capital class ship. Here we go. So I'm going to get rid of the UI. Yeah, get rid of that too. Okay, there's quite a lot of lag as it's loading this in. Now this is Project Black Saber in its fully built form, and my, isn't she a beauty. There's also one of the ships in a close guardian mode. That's quite close. Now I'm going to bring the UI back in and find out. Yep, she's pointing towards a prograde. So I'm going to throttle up slightly and just boost away from that ship there. It's a bit danger close and I don't want to do it any damage. We're just going to very lightly just scoot away from it. There you go. Quite a lot of there's quite a bit of lag, but the fact that we're using B9 Aerospace's large parts, it's managed to cut down on a lot of the lag, because these large parts, rather than having to have multiple fuel tanks, you only need one. They sit and bond together with each other quite well. So yes, they are a bit laggy, but they're a lot less laggy than some of the old capital class ships used to be. So as you can see, we've got a Ghost Interceptor, another Ghost Interceptor, a Wraith Heavy Interceptor just over in the distance there. I'll flick to that in a second. But I'm going to show you, talk you around this Project Black Saber. Now, this is the Northern Coalition's first attempt at a capital class ship. As you can see, it's very large. It's kind of a arrowhead shape. I tend to go with more triangular shapes for my corp. The Northern Coalition going with more kind of arrowhead. That's kind of like a giant arrowhead there as well. Now this ship's armed with multiple weapon systems. What we've got is some very heavy hitting but quite close range cannons on either side, which have got good firing arcs all round, more or less. There's a few blind spots. If you come up directly behind, because the engines stick quite a way out, there's not really much room for the cannons to get a shot off at anybody. So really the engines are a soft spot, but, and this is a big but, pretty much every flat surface of this has got 50 cal machine guns. So you've got a pair on either side of this rear piece. You've got a pair on top of here behind the secondary cockpit. You've got let's have a look. You've got 50 cal on this side as well. I'm not sure if the cannon barrel from this is going to get in the way of it, but take our chances. Of course, if anybody comes from this direction, you've basically got the 50 cal on top there. You've got a 50 cal in the middle here and on top here. So it's pretty much covered from every angle, and from the front here as well, there's quite a lot of firepower pointing forward. Now, the main fire arc of the ship is designed to be using these Vulcan cannons here. If I just flick sideways, there we go. Now, there's four on each side. There's 8 Vulcan cannons, all positioned to fire in a large forward arc. They've got quite a large traverse forwards and backwards. And once they get going, there's enough to shred any small ship and give a large ship a serious heavy thrashing. I'm kind of hoping that with sustained firepower, they'd be able to take anything apart. And if I turn the 50 cals on as well, they'd be able to add extra firepower on. There are quite a lot of 50 cals also pointing forwards. Having a look around the ship, if I put every gun on Guardian mode, the most lightly defended part of the ship would be if you came directly aft, because really there's only two sets of guns, which are the first set are mounted on this, and then the second set are mounted further back on this this mounting part here between the engines. So you only really have 4 guns to worry about, and if you get the angle right, perhaps only 2 if you get 1, 2 there, because there's no guns on this section. So there are definitely some blind spots, but pretty much a blind spot, or it still has a gun on it. So yes, this is their main capital ship, their first attempt. Not every part of the ship is completely armoured. It is designed to be kind of as an exploration ship. If they've got satellites out there, which they managed to take over when they invaded Tuxedo's Industries and Nightshade Incorporated, when they took over them, they managed to take over the control of their automated satellites, but not their manned satellites. So any manned satellites out there which still have Kerbinauts in them, they're still on the side of their own respective corporations, but they're not getting any orders because their corporations have been taken over by the Northern Coalition. Anyway, so this is well, I think this is one of the first times that I've actually shown you one of these ships. We've got these rather lovely blue spinny things in the middle. These are electricity generators, and they are needed. They make a lot, with a capital lot, of electricity, because these engines are hybrid plasma engines. They're hybrid engines. They can be very powerful but very fuel consuming, and work like a normal engine would do, or they can, for their size, they can take relatively small sips of fuel but use up a lot of electricity. So these kind of engines make for very good capital class vessels when you need thrust to get it off the ground, or if you need to basically the fuel economy. On older previous capital class vessels, we have racks and racks of nuclear engines just to give that fuel economy, but have enough thrust to be able to push it away from anything that we don't like the look of. So anyway, so that's a very quick talk of this ship, and it is a command and control ship. You can see there's a transmission device on the back behind the secondary cockpit. There's also 4 transmission devices on the corners here for controlling and interacting with their fleet. Now this, unlike other capital class vessels that have appeared in my series, is not a fleet support ship. If you excuse the loud noises, my kittens are running riot around the house. This is not a fleet support ship, this is a fleet attack ship. This is designed to punch its way through an enemy fleet, deal as much damage as possible, and leave the way open, I guess, for the smaller, more tactical vessels, which then have other jobs to be able to do. Talking of which, let's swap to our nearest vessel, if it will let us. Okay, so this is the heavy Interceptor. It's currently upside down, so I'm going to... Yeah, he's moving to prograde, which is fine. Lots of... You notice I have the RCS turned off. I like using the RCS for delicate balancing. Now this ship is a capital class killer. It's a heavy ship. It's similar to a capital class ship. It has the similar kind of armor profile of armored all over. It's a very open cockpit, but there's a reason for that, because I needed mounting points for mounting stuff on, and the armor just wasn't working for me. So it does have a very open and armoured cockpit, but the idea for this vessel is to stay well back, not flying and engage. This is not a dogfighting craft by any sense of the means. What it is almost like a flying bunker. It's a giant pillbox. It's got its own transmission gear, which doesn't make it a capital class vessel. If I managed to put another cockpit somewhere in here, it would technically class as a very small capital class vessel. In regards for the rules for this series, but the one thing that makes it identifiable as capital class idea is it's taken the bomber idea of launching a large payload at a large and relatively static target and taken it up a notch. This payload has got 4 very large rocket boosters, which fires the payload very, very quickly, and the payload itself is made from bombs. Now these bombs don't actually need to be armed to explode. All they need to do is hit something. Now this vessel is armoured quite heavily in some places, in other places very weakly. If a stray bullet hits these, or if they take the cockpit out, that's it, the vessel is gone. So this is not designed to head in at targets that are dogfighting or being particularly aggressive. This is designed to, well, this is a station destroyer, a long-range capital class ship destroyer. It has got 50 cal machine guns all the way around it, so if anything comes, I mean, it's very heavily armed from the back. It's got nuclear engines, it's very economic, and it's very heavily armoured from any of the angles other than from the front. The front is its main weak point, but not all the front needed to have a weak point. It has to be open. It can't have many armor plates because of these having to be launched forward, and me having to add extra gunnery modules and stuff onto the front. It has got the Vulcan cannons. Only has 2, Vulcan cannons as its main offensive armament, but if I activate the 50 cals, that's a lot of bullets travelling downstream, so to speak, at whatever target it chooses to pick at. But yes, this would all be completely closed in if it wasn't a bomber variant. I was contemplating on making capital class variant, basically putting extra fuel cells on the side and closing it off completely and making it just a giant armoured box with a small cockpit near the rear of the ship. But I've decided to keep this bomber variant because we have a very capable Interceptor light fighter, almost. Let's flick to our next. That's our next. And again, there we go. Here is one of the Interceptor kind of light type of craft. Now this is armoured with slightly lighter armour plates, heavy armour plates where it counts, 50 cals mounted all the way around, and this has 3 heavy armaments. It has 3 of these Vulcan cannons which are all gimbaled. Oh, he's got the RCS on. Let's turn his RCS off. He doesn't need that. These Vulcan cannons are all completely gimbaled, so again, it just needs to get near a target. I turn the 50 cals and the Vulcans on, and Bob's your uncle. Whatever it's shooting at is going to die. Now, it's got all of this angled armour plating as well, so it's designed to try and deflect anything that's coming at it. I've got these armoured kind of just end pieces here to stop shots just travelling straight up in the interior of the ship, but it has to be relatively open because of the engine. You can't have anything in front of the engine or around it, to be honest, because the engine overheats very, very quickly and has got a chance of exploding. But I guess if you get a few shots straight up the rear of this, you're going to hit a lot of critical systems, because pretty much the inside of here, in between these tanks, is where most of the critical systems are. Again, this is kind of like an arrowhead kind of pyramid design, where it narrows to a point so that it offers slanted armour points where it counts, and it's got the main guns pointing, which are gimbaled again, so they're going to be able to point at anything it chooses to. It's got big solar panels that will retract when it goes into an attack mode, but I might as well leave them out to help it regain any electricity it spends. So that's the fleet. There are 2 of these in this fleet. So there's 2 interceptors, 1 heavy interceptor which is designed to destroy anything large, and then we've got the there we go. We've got the Black Saber project. When we come back to it, there we go. We've got the Project Black Saber, which is the main force. This is the knuckled fist that will smash its way through any enemy opposition. So this is going to be the main attacking force. It's not particularly fast. Well, it can be fast, but it can't maneuver very fast, so it has to get into position first, near to its target, then slowly come in at its target, firing all of its weapons as best as it can. Now, pretty much all of these ships have got their own cameras, which I'm going to be using. So the first camera on this is looking forwards. It is mounted on the top of the ship. I'll show you where it is in a second. So that camera is just here. Is this little one here. This is looking towards basically the front of the ship. Yep, it's walking all towards the front of the ship. The view is actually kind of upside down, but that's fine. It's just the camera. This is the second camera, looking back at the one we've just looked at. This is looking between the engines. You'll see the engines fire off. Some quite cool cinematic shots, and you can see the little camera there, just highlighted. The 50 cal machine gun is actually hidden by this. It's just on the other side of there. Okay, the next camera is on the side of the craft, looking down this gunnery range of Vulcan cannons, looking down towards the nose of the ship. Now, this is quite a good sight when these guys are firing. If I have a target in front of me, this is a good place to sit. You'll see the rounds travelling off downrange towards their intended target. Now, this is the main nose viewing telescope. Now, I'm calling this a telescope, not a camera, because it is. It's a camera telescope. It's got very good range. So if I want to make any extremely long-range shots, perhaps some cursory shots, just to see if I can hit the target from long range, this can see things. This can see all the way out to the outer planets. In fact, this has got an absolutely insane range on it. Okay, let's head back to our ship. Now, that's also picking up on cameras, local cameras. It's picking up on the camera on this one as well. It's a nose camera. Anywho, so you've also got 2 cockpits, so it is not invulnerable by any sense of the word. It's well armoured in places that really count, and it's got sloping bodywork, which I'm hoping will help deflect and help get any shots that are coming straight at it, because it's meant to plough headfirst towards an enemy, so any shots coming at it will hopefully be deflected by these angled surfaces. It's not a tank, it's not designed to withstand an amazing amount of damage. It's designed to fly towards the enemy and destroy them before they know what's going on, and then any kind of star bases or any large ships that it managed to mostly disarm, it can finish them off with these cannons. But these cannons could also be used on very low passes over enemy fortifications, such as the enemy fortification on the moon owned by Kerbal Industries, my own corporation. If it does a low flyby over that, it could perhaps pick them off with the explosive force of these cannon shells that it can deploy. But these are not very good space weapons because of the range that they're firing at. These shells travel relatively slowly, and by the time the shell has reached the target has already moved in its orbit, as the targets are constantly moving, and so you've got to lead your shots by a significant way, and it's a bit of a waste of ammunition. So unless you've got a really close range shot, then there's not really much point. Anywho, we're going to cut to a... For the rest of the video, this has basically been my little introduction and talking over what the Northern Coalition current fleet status is, which is, well, fully operational. It's an armed and operational battleship here, or perhaps an exploration ship. It's designed to go out long distances, kick ass, chew bubblegum, and reduce the enemy fleet down to nothing. So far, they've sat back on the laurels and built their fleets up, and now this is the big push to try and push back the enemy as hard as possible, to try and stop any build-up of any fleets or any ground occupation. So we're definitely going to deal with things around Kerbin here. We're going to push onto the Mun and try and get rid of the Kerbal Industries ship that's around the Mun, holding airspace, and then we're going to push onto Minmus to destroy more Kerbal Industries ships and anything else that's around there. I hope you enjoyed this little intro, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video.